So, for almost 5 years now, ever since my channel started to gain a little bit of traction on YouTube, I have had a Discord server. You may not have known that because I didn't advertise it a whole lot, to be honest. And there's several reasons for that. Number one, I was fine with it being a smaller, more tight-knit community. Number two, it's just harder to keep track of everything and harder to make sure everything stays on topic and make sure everything stays good, I guess is the shortest way to put it, when there's more people there. And I don't know, I just didn't feel like bringing in that many more people. Like, I would occasionally put out a invite link and just say, hey, if you want to come in, come in. And then we get like 15 more people within the next couple of days, and some of them would be frequent contributors, some of them would just be lurkers or wouldn't do anything really. But, you know, the point is, I didn't advertise it that much, and so if you didn't know I had a Discord server, then that's not that weird. But I don't have it anymore. Yesterday, I deleted it. It's gone. It's gone forever. I did it, admittedly, without warning, but I think you'll understand why as I go through this. And I just want to put this out there so we can make clear exactly what happened, why it happened. There's not going to be like a whole bunch of juicy drama or anything. It just got to a point where I feel that the community that had been created there was no longer good. It was genuinely just rotting away from the inside, and I didn't know if I would be able to fix it without just being draconian, honestly. And I don't want to be draconian, and hell, even if I had been, it might not have fixed it. But the point is, it got too much. So when the Discord first started to become somewhat active and started getting more people in there, I didn't have any moderators. I just had some people in there who had the ability to ban other members, and I didn't really think too much about that, to be honest. I was just thinking, okay, if someone comes in and makes trouble, then they'll just get rid of them. They weren't moderators per se, but I figured I could trust them enough to not abuse that power. And once or twice they did get rid of people who came in and were like, they were just trying to raid, like posting Nazi shit or something, and they just got rid of them. And so I didn't need to go in and do it myself. So it was kind of convenient. But then there were two separate instances where they banned long-time active members of the community without just cause. Like, one of them I don't remember all the specifics of, but I was very annoyed by it. The second time, and after the second one, I removed everyone else's permissions to ban people. The second one, and this was a while ago, so some of the details are fuzzy, admittedly, but the second one was somebody just mentioning that he didn't quite understand trans people. Like, he didn't quite understand what it was like to feel like you were born in the wrong body and why you would transition, and he was asking questions about it, and people just got way too heated about it and banned him. And again, that's when I removed their permissions to do it, because I was like, okay, he wasn't doing anything transphobic. He was literally just trying to understand this, and rather than helping him understand, they banned him. So I did that. I gave him another invite link, so he was officially a member of the server after that, but he no longer felt welcome there. And so for the last, 2 years or something, he just has not posted there anymore. And ever since I removed their ability to ban people, I've been the only real moderator. And again, small enough community that it hasn't been too big of a hassle. There's been times where it's been annoying, like they've had to at me at 10 o'clock at night because there was someone that was making trouble, like some newcomer just popped in, and I had to take care of them. But overall, not too bad. But there were several more instances where people would DM me or otherwise contact me with demands to get rid of somebody. And it was almost always another longtime active member of the community, and they're like, they're being homophobic, they're being transphobic, something like that. And then you look at it and no, it just wasn't. Like, one of them, again, this one I remember a bit more specifically because it went on for a while and I was able to resolve it. It was somebody, a trans person in the community, mentioned that she wanted to get breast implants, and then somebody else, a cis woman, mentioned that those things can give you cancer, which is true, yeah, and somehow that was construed as transphobic. Like, that's not how that worked. And then, in DMs, I was able to talk to both of them and get them to work it out, and that one worked out okay. It was fine. It wasn't a big deal, but I knew then that I really couldn't trust most of these people with moderator privileges, because I had been considering, like, asking people who wanted to be mods at that time, but then I knew, like, okay, they would have just banned somebody for no reason, and I can't trust them. You know, like, I'm not good at delegating tasks in general, to be quite honest. Like, that's why I don't have an editor or anything for the channel. Like, I just don't like giving up that sense of control. Maybe that's a flaw of mine, I don't know. It's worked okay for the most part, but me being not good at giving up those tasks to other people, and me not being able to trust a lot of the people on the server who would likely have volunteered for moderator positions, meant that I just really couldn't ever give up full control. Like, I wish I could have, but I couldn't. And there were other instances like this, again, like people just getting into contact with me saying, this person is being annoying, and I was like, okay, you can just block them. And, like, usually I just left it alone, and it would go away after a while. But then, more recently, somebody joined the server who just happened to be a patron, and I'm sorry if I'm not using specific names here. I'm not trying to start anything. The people I'm talking about, you know who you are, but I just don't feel like drawing attention their way, you know, because I don't want anyone getting harassed or anything. But a new person joined who just so happened to be a patron, and he was admittedly annoying. You know, he did shitpost a whole lot in the various channels. I made sure to tell him, hey, keep it to the shitposting channel and keep politics to the politics channel, because we did have one, if you weren't aware. But, you know, I did personally find him annoying, but he wasn't breaking any rules. Skirting the edges of them occasionally, but not breaking anything. And people would, again, not just in DMs, but, like, very publicly, they would just whine incessantly about this guy. And I told them every time, like, okay, if he's just annoying, then block him and move on. And that wasn't enough for them. They would always say, but we can't just block him because we know he's there. Like, for some reason, him not being able to interact with them and them not having to see his shit wasn't enough for them. They needed to know that he was gone. Like, they needed to know he was so far away that they wouldn't have to think about him again. Because the thing is, if moderators start banning people arbitrarily who aren't breaking the rules, then the community will die. Full stop. That just end of story. That is how internet communities die. This has been true all the way back when forums were still really a thing, to modern day with, like, subreddits and Discord servers and stuff. Like, that is it. Like, again, I found this guy annoying too, and I did DM him a little bit, trying to get him to chill out, and the final straw was, again, yesterday, somebody DM'd me saying, saying, hey, get rid of this guy, he's annoying. And, like, that's it. There really was nothing else there. Like, if some people on Twitter, when I said this, were claiming that, oh, the new user was being transphobic and homophobic and racist, if that's the case, I didn't see it and they didn't tell me about it. Like, they never told me about it. They specifically said, well, he's not breaking rules per se, he's just annoying. So? Like, you need to learn to deal with that kind of shit. If I banned everybody who was annoying, I would ban everybody. Because we're all annoying sometimes. I am, other people are, everyone in that server was, everyone everywhere is sometimes. Especially on the internet. So, like, if I ban somebody just for being annoying, because the people who'd been there for a while demand it and they feel like they run the community, even though they don't, then the whole thing is just going to start to die. Maybe die isn't even the right word, because internet communities don't die. Not really. Like, when forums implode and stuff, they don't die, they just rot away from the inside until everything you loved about them is gone. There's a lot of ways this can happen, but One of the big ones is like moderators arbitrarily banning people, and that just makes discussion worse. It makes the people there generally worse and feel like they can talk less, and it just overall it brings the whole mood down. And then people, even if they're not specifically banned, just kind of drift off and lose interest in it. And soon enough, what was once a vibrant community is like 6 people left that are just yelling at each other. I'm gonna ask you a hypothetical question real quick. So imagine there are kids in a classroom, right? And there is one kid who is doing something kind of annoying, but not really that disruptive. Let's say he's like drumming his pencils on his desk, and the person next to him finds it obnoxious. And you're like, okay, that's fair. He's continually drumming, and I can hear it all the time. That is kind of annoying. So they ask the teacher, hey, remove him from the classroom. And the teacher says, I'm not going to remove him from the classroom, but she does turn to him and say, hey, stop drumming. And he stops drumming for a little bit, but then he keeps doing it, but even quieter than before. So the other kid that was annoyed can't even hear the drumming now, but he knows it's happening, and it just irks him, and he can't bring himself to ignore it, so he stands up in the middle of the room and starts shouting, "This person is being disruptive, please remove him." And the teacher says, sit down, I'm not doing that. And then he continues screaming and shouting and crying. Who is being more disruptive in this scenario? Because that's what was going on the server. People were publicly and privately crying about one annoying user instead of just blocking and moving on. And I did try to resolve this privately in DMs with people. I did try to tell them, hey, just stop. We can't go banning people for no reason. And that's when they started insulting me. They started well, that's not when they started. They actually had been doing it for a bit. But I shrugged it off. I don't care that much. And people were also implying that I only wasn't banning this guy because he was a patron. I honestly don't give a fuck that he was a patron. Like I said, I found him annoying as well. But some people are claiming that that's not the case. But I tried my damnedest over the course of literal weeks to just get people to fucking simmer down and get over themselves, and they refused to do so. And that was when I realized that, okay, the rot has just seeped into my community. I don't like that, and maybe I could have tried to continue cutting it out and fixed it somehow, but I don't know for certain. And honestly, after all the headache this had caused me, I just wasn't going to put more effort into it. I just wasn't. Because if the people there were not only arrogant enough to think that they ran things, and narcissistic enough to think that they had the right to never ever hear anything that irked them, and if they just felt that, like, publicly crying and shouting about how mean this guy is being and how he's just trolling them, which, by the way, if you're trying to get trolls to leave you alone, publicly crying about it is not going to help you, you fucking idiots. Oh my god, I am amazed I have to say this in this day and age, but if you're that bad at regulating your emotional state, don't come crying to me to help you do it. Like, you're putting in zero effort on your end, and I'm just not. I'm not interested in being a babysitter, or I don't even know if babysitter is the right word, but I'm just not interested in doing that. So when the person I was talking to just refused to see any reason and refused to acknowledge that maybe I should just chill out and learn to ignore things that aren't that big a deal and just hit the block button so I don't have to deal with it, like, apparently that was too much for them. So, and when they just refused to see reason, I just said fuck it, and I immediately went to server settings and I hit delete. And I don't regret it. I know some people are probably upset. I'm kind of upset, to be honest. I liked that place overall. It had annoyances, but I did like it. But as I said, the rot had seeped in, and I don't know if I could have fixed it. So the people, again, I didn't name anyone specifically, but, like, you know who you are if you're watching this. You know exactly who the fuck you are. This is your fault. Okay? I'm sorry. I I know I'm the one that deleted it, but I'm not taking responsibility for it. Like, you are the ones that made the community into what it is. You are the ones that just cannot regulate your own emotional state. You are the ones that were incessantly whining and crying and demanding that I create an echo chamber, I create a safe space for you. Like, you needed to feel powerful. You needed to feel like you had control over the community. So you just needed this person gone. That server was a good resource over the years. I had some fun there, but it just was not worth anything anymore. It just wasn't. So if you were someone that enjoyed going there, I'm sorry, except for the people who, again, you know who I'm talking about. You were the ones that made the server worse. And maybe I'll create another one someday, not anytime soon. Don't worry. But like, if I just feel like it, if I feel like I could start over and make another space for my community to chill and discuss things, and I can connect with you guys a bit more, then like I might do that. But the people who caused this, again, you know who you are. You're not welcome there. You are not wanted there. And that's about all I have to say about that. So, again, the lesson to be learned from this is if something isn't like actively hostile to you, like sending threats and stuff, if it's just annoying, hit the block button, hit the mute button, ignore it. I don't know why I have to explain this to people in this fucking day and age, but I do.